Psalm 76, and here we see how the psalm begins. I just want us to notice a repeated term that's going to come up in the psalm and then kind of apply the point of it. It begins like this: in Judah, God is known. That's quite a statement. It's talking about the nation, it's talking about God's role within the nation, and it's talking about his reputation in the nation. He's known. His name is great in Israel. His abode has been established in Salem, his dwelling place in Zion. Why is he known? Because he's established his place. There he broke the flashing arrows, the shield, the sword, and the weapons of war. So he established and he defended or protected his people, his nation, his temple, all of that kind of Old Testament imagery. But that's where God is known. Now, once you move on from that, the middle section of the psalm, from verse 4 down to, would it be verse 9, is really saying, look at how he has achieved victory. Look at the second half of it. But you, speaking of God, you are to be feared. Who can stand before you when once your anger is roused? From the heavens you utter judgment. The earth feared and was still when God arose to establish judgment, to save all the humble of the earth. And so this middle section from 4 right the way down to 9 is saying, look, God has won his battles victoriously, and the effect of that has been fear. It's caused people, it's caused the earth to be afraid, because God is so powerful and so strong. Notice when you come down to the end, we've got that term repeated some more. Surely the wrath of man shall praise you. The remnant of wrath you will put on like a belt. Make your vows to the Lord your God and perform them. Let all around him bring gifts to him who is to be feared, who cuts off the spirit of princes, who is to be feared by the kings of the earth. And so, having established this history of God's power and God's powerful intervention to establish and then to protect his people, his nation, with the kind of battleground littered with defeated enemies. You could think through the Old Testament and think through some of those great victories that God gave. With that imagery in mind, what's the bottom line? God is to be feared. Now, what does that mean for us today? Of course, we're living in a slightly different context. The battles that we experience don't tend to end up with bodies scattered all over the place, but there is a sense in which God's people are being attacked, always have been. And there is a sense in which God defends his people. And the point of this psalm still stands, that God is to be feared. That when God rises up, when God gets involved, those who are opposing him and opposing his plans and opposing his people will have to pay really dire consequences. Even the kings of the earth should fear this God. And so in light of that psalm, 12 verses that we've looked at, or you can look at in full, what's the bottom line? The bottom line is take God seriously. Like it says up here, make your vows to the Lord your God and perform them. He's urging the leaders of the nation to take God seriously, to recognize his power, to fear who he is, and then to live in light of that. We're living in a world where an awful lot of people have shaken their fists at heaven and have said, we can handle it, we're in charge. And there's some sinister plans and plots and things going on, but God still remains the one that should be feared. And so knowing him, knowing the truth of who he is, can give us confidence to make sure that, or to know that our response to him is the response that matters, more than our response to whatever may go on around us. So take a look at Psalm 76. Recognize the repetition of feared, 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 and then respond accordingly. This is a God to take seriously. Make your vows to the Lord. Make sure your gaze, your knee is bowed, your affection, your heart is directed toward him. And with that in place, whatever else may come, may come. Psalm 76. Take a look, share what you find with others. See you next time.